Hello. Welcome to Ways of Seeing Art, Digital Media, and Visual Culture. My name is Anushray. Some of you might be familiar with this term juxtaposition. Some of you who are listening or hearing this term for the first time, let's unpack what juxtaposition really is. So, juxtaposition in art is actually used to refer to works that are composed of various unrelated elements or fragments placed side by side or atop one another. This is done to create an interesting effect of comparison or contrast. Now, juxtaposition, I feel, is just more than your comparison or your just plain contrast. It's actually about the three C's. This is how I see juxtaposition sort of unraveling. So the three C's, as we already talked about, first is contrast, second is contradict, and third is complement. The three C's are contrast, contradict, and complement. Now, let's talk about these various elements of juxtaposition that we see all over the various art pieces that we sort of interact with. We are talking about the juxtaposition of the painting where the background is festive. It is definitely full of life, but there are influences of Western culture. This painting is not outright juxtaposition of two culture, but juxtaposition and contrast of a really vivid background with a very prominent figure, and then they're able to contrast each other and also complements. So as you can see, it has a lot of motifs of Japanese traditions and culture. Moving on. Now the next painting and the art piece that I found is by Nico Kos. So Nico Kos sort of elaborates their work is that whenever the symbols in an artwork are juxtaposed, maybe they didn't do that, maybe it's just an overview. So whenever the symbols in an artwork are juxtaposed, the viewer will stay mesmerized every time observing it again. Now this sort of juxtaposition that we see is more about symbols. So if you look at this specific painting, again, I feel all of us can point out what's this one element that contradicts and stands out. It definitely is this person standing at the back with their face being replaced by a bunny or rabbit motif and symbol. So as you can see, looking at the artwork, this is juxtaposition that is contradicting the scenario. The scenario is a family perhaps, or a group which is standing in front of their maybe farmland. They're farmers, they are posing, but this person is standing out. So what I can see personally, this could be the artist's way of using juxtaposition to say how contradiction works through symbols. And you see that, oh, maybe this is a person who stands out, maybe this person doesn't really resonate with this life anymore. So juxtaposition from Nico Kos, hopefully that's how you pronounce it. So this is oil on linen, and this is how symbols are used in artwork. Now the next painting for juxtaposition is by Carl Randall. So this is also an oil painting on canvas, and this is titled as Mr. Kitazawa's Noodle Bar, and is based on a very noisy, busy, lively noodle bar in central Tokyo. This liveliness is sort of juxtaposed with the reduction of the scene to tones of grey, creating an atmosphere of silence, stillness, and isolation. Look at this painting for a few seconds. Now think about the elements of contrast, complementation, and contradiction in no order particularly. So contrast. There is a contrast of this single canvas. One is in color and one is in black and white. This is definitely contrasting. And then the contradiction is the busy noodle bar. You can sort of see it in the image that the busy noodle bar is is full of, you can imagine, it's noisy, it's busy, it's lively. It's something we have experienced, right? Being in a busy public space, in a restaurant space. And then next to it is a Zen garden, where it's about tranquility. You can see koi fishes in the pond, so that's also contradicting silence and the noise. And then there's another element of contradiction. The black and white palette has been used for a noisy, lively bar, and the color is used for a more tranquil scene. Again, artists can use so many ways of juxtaposition in one single art piece. And similarly, if you guys can actually further analyze the painting of the Zen garden, at the bottom right of this canvas on the left, you have this person on a cell phone, and there are two women, presumably, who are in kimonos, Japanese traditional clothing. It's also contradicting that, how a person might still live in chaos even in these beautiful surroundings. It has complementation, contradiction, and also contrast, comparison. The next piece is by Sarah Forsyth. So this painting, this painting. So the painter mentions that I wanted to explore the juxtaposition between life and death in this artwork. I expressed these ideas through the image of an urn as a symbol for death and the human figure representing life. The hand reaching from the former to the latter endeavors to portray a connection between the two. So again, let's pull back, figure out what's happening here. There are so many motifs, so many ideas. Now, juxtaposition here is happening through dreamlike imagery. There is an urn and there's a hand reaching out to this person. So definitely we are in dreamscape, we are in imagination, right? So the depiction is about life and death. Life and death contradiction. They contrast and they complement each other. Duality of these philosophies, right? You can't separate life from death. Juxtaposition. And then you have the juxtaposition of this person whose face is sullen and the colors is more about grays and blacks, the way it's painted, but the hand is pale white. So the colors that are used, pale white resembling again, this is my interpretation, is usually the cold, lifeless body, for a lack of better phraseology, is the dead person reaching out to a person who is grieving, who is in darkness, grays. You see that, right? And also reality merging with surrealism. So it's like grieving processes for many might be dreamlike, where they dream about the person that they've lost, or maybe they're just imagining all these powerful scenarios to cope up with the reality of that they're experiencing. Alrighty, now moving from paintings to a popular culture. So Charles Dickens, the most celebrated literary icon globally, A Tale of Two Cities. So it's a passage that I'm going to read. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Juxtaposition, contradiction. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was a season of light, it was a season of darkness. It was a spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven, we were all going direct the other way. This passage is rife with contradiction, contrasting ideas, and it's also complementing, right? Literally, it's duality. It's light and darkness, and it's just the duality, and it's just rife with literature as well. Charles Dickens, one of the greatest literary icons of all time. Now, I want to move, we talked about juxtaposition in painting, in visual arts, presumably. Again, visual arts is very broad. Painting, then literature, one example by Charles Dickens. And the third is juxtaposition in photography. In photography, we can talk about contrasting textures, light and shadow, color harmony, and relative movements. First example, this is Light and Shadow of Reverence and Awe, Trees by the photographer Raghu Rai. So it's a personal homage to the majesty of trees by this photographer who's an avid gardener, nature lover. Light and shadow, it's self-explanatory. It's the light and the shadows, and also they're complementing, contrasting, and also contradicting each other. And there's so much vivid textures with the cloud, with the sun, and with the beautiful shadows that are stretching out. Next, from Raghu Rai, contrasting textures from the similar series of Reverence and Awe, a personal homage to the majesty of trees. So, as you can see, this image is very interesting to me because generally it looks that, oh, maybe it's a night sky full of stars, but it also, I feel, is just fast shutter speed capture of a snapshot of suspended rain droplets in the sky at night with flash on, and it just looks amazing. So there is contrasting textures, which is also part of juxtaposition. Color harmony. Now this is a still from the film Moonrise Kingdom. The director of photography, if I'm not wrong, is Robert Yeoman, and the filmmaker is one of my all-time favorites, Wes Anderson. And this duo, Wes Anderson and the director of photography, the cinematographer, is known to execute shots like these where it's about color harmony. You can see the oranges and the blues complementing each other. There is a contrast as well. It goes so well. Similar shot, the pinks and the blues, and also this still is taken from Wes Anderson's film, The Grand Budapest Hotel. The director of photography is Robert Yeoman. Now, moving from textures and color harmony, relative movements. So this is a shot that I found by one photographer, Nicholas Gooden. So Nicholas Gooden's shot is interesting. If you look at it, can you figure out the juxtaposition motifs that we are talking about here? I definitely have mentioned relative movements, right? So what does it even mean, relative movements? So what relative movements mean here is you have a structure that is still, that's like in place. You can't really move it. That's the central structure of this amazing bridge. And then you have this long exposure shot that is taken using slow shutter speed for the photographers out there who already know. It's basically the trail of lights that are left by the moving traffic. So I feel it could be a bus, it could be a high-speed truck, whatever, and it's contrasting with the stillness of the bridge that can't really move. Relative movement. Quick shots by Nicholas Gooden. That's how you pronounce his last name, I hope. The stillness of the brick wall and the graffitied door, and then this motion blur, which is taken using slow shutter speed of this man moving around. So relative movement, juxtaposition. Similarly, as you can see in this shot, the relative stillness of the ground and the buildings, and the movement of the, I'm assuming it's a carousel of sorts. Alrighty, so moving on, let's talk about visual artist and juxtaposition. Now, also, if you're watching this video, this is also for people who are taking my class, but if you're not taking my class, feel free to do this class group activity. So take 5 photos around you based on the ideas you have come up with. For example, if you have chosen light and dark, the photo should respond to that idea. So come up with a list of juxtaposition that are seen around in visual arts. As I mentioned, light and dark, movement and stillness, and take 5 photos of 5 different ideas. Please try it out. If you want to share your results in comments, or if you're in my class, you can share it in our discussion forums. Now let's talk about visual arts and juxtaposition more vividly. So this specific photo is from this legendary media artist Man Ray. Now, this specific image is one of Man Ray's classical work. Again, just a background. Man Ray is a artist who's working in almost the early 20th century. So again, photography is super new. There is no digital cameras, there is no Photoshop. So a lot of his genius comes from the fact that he's actually doing this in very primitive technology, if you want to put it that way. So he transformed the female body into a musical instrument by painting sound holes on her back, playing with the idea of objectification of an animate body. Throughout his career, Man Ray was fascinated with juxtaposing an object with a female body. It looks like a cello to me. It is such a powerful way of contrasting ideas. Now, the another piece that I found over the internet that I found really fascinating was of this artist, Corey Sevelson. Again with the names, but I do my best. Fantastic architectural and figurative landscapes to experience a strange juxtaposition of building, animals, and amusement park offering. Look at this image. It is a hodgepodge of contradiction, complementation, but it's the idea that this is your imagination, this is your mindscape, your thoughts sort of like mishmashing with each other, and then as an artist you try to create the visuals that communicate that sort of vivid visual landscape that you experience. This is an art piece. Now we are moving from photos to paintings to media art pieces. Now, media art pieces are something that can combine the four. So for example, just a quick example for someone who don't know what media art is. Let's say you are collaborating with a colleague or a peer or a friend. You are a photographer, I'm a photographer, and your colleague or your friend is a painter. How can you combine both your skill sets to create one art piece? Look at this piece by Catalina Villegas. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, so sorry. So this is abstract. The materials are canvas over paper, I believe. Styles are conceptual, and the medium is paper, paint, found objects. So maybe, let's say, if you want to create an art piece like this, you're a photographer, you're collaborating with a friend of yours who's a painter, you have your photos of the model, of things around them, and you put them on Photoshop, and then you have a painting done by your friend, you put that in Photoshop as well. And if you have used Photoshop, you can actually create different layer masks, you can remove backgrounds, and bam, you have your media art piece. Alright, so this is a gentle divine servant. Her eyes glimmer with candlelight, elemental and pragmatic. She experiences time while holding on to space. Everything smells like wood, and it is the same wood. Her fire element decomposes. She hugs the being in front of her, sheer force, and her potential transits between everywhere. This is so philosophical, spiritual, as an artist trying to visually show you what they are experiencing. Beauty of art. Now, I love this series. This is by English conceptual artist John Stizziker. Again with the names, it's just a tongue twister for me. Creates interesting juxtaposition art by combining old photographs and postcards. His works were just recently displayed. Oh, again, I don't know what recently is. I have to look at the date for this article. Were recently displayed at the Whitechapel Gallery in London. Now this piece is amazing because it's this combination of old postcards with old photos, and the way they combine, they complement each other, they contradict each other, they contrast each other. Juxtaposition is just not one thing, it's so many things rolled into one. Let's just look at this here. Oh, I love this. I love how it sort of bleeds out, like the art postcard is bleeding out with the photos that they have found. Amazing media art pieces. Taking classic movie stills, vintage postcards, and book illustrations, Stizziker makes collages to give old images a new meaning by adjusting, inverting, slicing separate pictures together to create unique new works of art. Steziker explores the subversive force of found images. Now, his famous Mask series fuses the profiles of glamorous sitters with caves, hamlets, or waterfalls, making for images of eerie beauty. I definitely see that. It's eerie and it's beautiful. Alright, great video that I found on juxtaposition. I will share the links in the description. Definitely look at it. Very simple, and they talk about contrast and combining. Alright, the discussion time. People who are looking at this, if it makes sense to you, yeah, be part of the discussion. After looking at the video, juxtaposition, compare, contrast, and combine, what are the ways of seeing from these different artists that are apparent and relevant to our discussion of feeling, intellectualization, and observation? So talk to me in terms of what you feel, what do you intellectualize, the symbols, the techniques, and stuff like that. And what do you observe? Observation is, I feel, again, it's very hard to explain. So we feel our feelings when you look at an artwork. You feel angry, sad, happy, whatever, right? You like it. I feel that. Then you intellectualize. Why do I like this? Why do I hate this? And whatever. And observation is, you take away your feelings, you take away your rational, oh, the photo is taken like this. No, you just observe what's happening. Let's do that. So for my class, in the discussion forums, please share 3 photos that have interesting combination of elements. The idea is to find interesting combination with things around you to create a new interesting meaning through their juxtaposition. So find interesting combination that are things around you and then create a new meaning through the juxtaposition. Please also create a small document. Make sure to just add names of all the people who are with you and participating, photos and ideas, and these photos that are responding to. Thank you. People are looking at this video, comment down below, perhaps. Alrighty, look at this art piece. I don't know how many of you are familiar with your art history. Any guesses who this artist might be? Drum roll. This is let me show you another work before I read the description. Look at this another work as well. Che Guevara. People, maybe some of you are familiar with Che Guevara. Cuban revolutionary, iconic figure. Some people hate him, some hate him. Anyways, this specific style, pop art, is popularized by Andy Warhol. So instead of working on a signature subject matter, Andy Warhol started out to create pop art. So he worked more and more on a signature style, slowly eliminating the handmade process from the artistic process. Warhol frequently used silk screening. His later drawings were traced from slide projectors. He was working in the 60s and the 70s. Still, primitive technology compared to what we have in 2025. Warhol used cell screening as a form of juxtaposition of layers in various forms: photos, paintings, sketches, and screen printing. Layers and repetition of images creates juxtaposition of various visual elements, also suggesting various philosophies about consumerism, celebrity culture, and identity of self. Great video by Dave, How to Print Like Warhol. Now class exercise, if you're tuning in watching this video and my class. Looking at the collection of Warhol paintings, please pick 5 pieces from WikiArt that resonates with you. Please mention the elements of juxtaposition, and you can also talk about them through our method of feeling, intellectualization, and observation, as I just mentioned. And also, I found this great artist, Andrea Gardner. Looking at Andrea Gardner's work, Cultural Juxtaposition, please analyze the idea of juxtaposition by using our class methods of feeling, intellectualization, and observations. How, why, and what. How do you feel? Why do you think that's happening? Intellectualization, and what is happening? Observation. Alrighty. Alright, that's it, folks, for juxtaposition. Thank you for tuning in, and see you in our next class video.